Happy New Year, everybody. Meteorologist Brad Panovich here for SkiSoutheast.com. And boy, the pattern is setting up great for skiing here in 2025 in the Southeast. We had a great December with perfect shots of cold air, great snowmaking. Some of the weekends and some of the holidays were absolutely perfect, some of the best I've seen in December in years. And January is off to a really cold and maybe snowy start, I should say. I wouldn't get too caught up in the snow. I'd be more focused on the cold and prolonged cold, which to me is the best part about this. It's not how brutally cold it is, because I don't think it's going to be record or historic, anything like that. To me, it's just great that it's going to get cold and probably stay cold for a good chunk of January, which is the kind of pattern, honestly, that could get us through the rest of the season with great snowmaking 24/7 for maybe 2, 3 weeks. So here's the pattern today. We've got pretty cold conditions across the Southeast. Temperatures are really frigid out there. I'll turn the temperatures on. So snowmaking ongoing. We've got really cold air over Canada. There's a big pocket of sub-zero temperatures, and that's heading down to the southeast. So get ready, folks. It is going to get cold and stay cold. So snowmakers, start cranking those guns up. Now, let's look at the guidance here. We've got a storm system on the way. This is going to develop this weekend. We've got a kind of what I would call a cold front, dry cold front. But look at the flow straight off the Great Lakes. This is a great northwest flow event setting up for parts of West Virginia in particular, even down to Winter Place, all the way up to Wisp, Canaan Valley, Timberline, even down to, obviously, Snowshoe always gets hammered, and maybe even down to Beach and Sugar Mountain in North Carolina. But this will be a nice burst of fluffy, very powdery snow because of how cold and dry this air mass is. That moves through quickly, but the cold air remains, so ideal snowmaking. But the nice thing about the system moving through on Monday, Tuesday is that it reinforces the cold air and brings another shot of snow. Unfortunately, it could be more of a hodgepodge of mix of wintry weather, rain, sleet, freezing, and just the kind of stuff you don't want to see. Even up into West Virginia, this is going to be a wintry mess. So not great snowmaking conditions this early next week, starting Sunday into Monday, but definitely this will be a good sign because this storm actually brings in colder air. So this storm is not the big snowmaker that we would love it to be. It's really just the one that drives in and brings in the cold air behind it. Because you can see the trough that digs in behind this is the Arctic air spilling into the central part of the country. And once that moves in, so this is by the middle of next week. So what the 7th, that's Tuesday into Wednesday, right? I got my days, what day of the week it is, after the holidays here. But this is a cold air mass. Look at the flow. Just look at these isobars. This is coming straight out of the Arctic down to the south. This is a really cold flow. Now, the one thing that keeps this from being historic cold, not a lot of snowpack that is traveling over, except for the snow that's going to fall Sunday, Monday to our north. There's not a lot of snowpack here. So I think this is going to be cold, but not what I would call historic. It is the coldest time of the winter right now. So for it to be below average is pretty chilly. But what's exciting here is the cold air is in place starting in the middle of next week. And we get the whole southern stream of the jet stream going here. And this is what produces the big storms in the southeast snow. If we get this train of storms to develop and throw moisture back into this cold air, like we're starting to see right here coming out of Texas. Now, this system, again, don't get into specifics, just the fact that there's a storm there, this could be a really good setup for a good burst of snow. And it's not the only one. It looks like another one tries to form down there. And there's cold air in place this entire time. So that's the great thing about the prolonged cold. The cold air stays in place, and we get a couple of systems that try to move in and bring us some wintry weather. So there's some good signs here. Now, how much snow are we talking about? Let's look at the blend of models. I'll go all the way into next weekend. You could see this northern stream system definitely does produce some good snow up in the Ohio Valley into West Virginia and Maryland. North Carolina resorts a little less, but again, I would not read too much into this, because if this southern systems start developing, we might see more develop in this region downrange and down in time. So I would not read too much into that right now. I do think potentially that could be ending up to be a decent setup. So let's look at the probabilities of 6 inches of snow in the ensembles. Obviously, West Virginia and Maryland look good, but even into North Carolina by the end of next weekend into the 17th, there are some pretty good probabilities here, and I'll scroll this up, in that 50 to 70% range for some of the mountains of North Carolina to see 6 inches of snow in that time frame. So the probabilities of seeing some good snow are there. The 1 inch amounts obviously go a little bit further out, but 6 inches is what I kind of look at to see good snow for the mountains. And this goes out, this is pretty far, guys. It's 15 days out. So take it with a huge grain of salt, but the probabilities are better to look at than specifics. You can see the first couple systems, man, West Virginia, Maryland look to be great, but even North Carolina gets in on this action starting next weekend. So All targets are really going to be about next weekend and that system and the pattern that sets up late next week. But all along, the great thing about this pattern, regardless of storm systems, the cold air is coming. I mean, that cold air is coming over the Arctic into the eastern half of the country and the southeast. So good news for skiing in the southeast. Prolonged cold, which means snowmaking, preserving base, and adding to it that could get us through the entire. I mean, that's the thing about this setup. This could be the type of cold snap that would get us through the rest of the season because you could build enough base at the resorts to maintain it through the rest of the season. That's how prolonged cold. 2 weeks of below freezing temperatures for many of the ski resorts, maybe even longer. Have a great weekend. Happy New Year. And as always, think snow.